Interior Secretary Doug Burgum joining us now. Secretary Burgum is also the chair of the National Energy Dominance Council. And welcome and good to chat with you again, Secretary Burgum. Obviously, much to discuss: American oil, Venezuela, wind power, and more. But I want to start with Iran and the events there. How closely are you watching Iran, not just from a human perspective, but also on the various outcomes and what it might mean for the American oil industry?
Well, Brian, Kelly, great to be with you. And of course, we are at the cusp of perhaps a historic change in the world. And all of this is because of President Trump's leadership. Without President Trump's policy and execution of energy dominance, the U.S. Would not have been able to take out the Iranian nuclear capability in terms of their producing nuclear weapons last June, and then have essentially no change at the price of the pump here in America. That's because of the policies that President Trump put in place and was executing on around energy abundance and around freeing up our energy industry to produce, gives him the degrees of freedom to do the things that he's doing. And of course, that severely weakened the Iranian government. I think that, of course, this is a government today, the Iranian government, which has been responsible for funding terrorism, as many as 24 different terror groups. They're responsible for taking American lives over the last many, many decades. And I know that many other countries in the Middle East would love to see the current Iranian government fall. And as President Trump has said, he stands with the Iranian people. And President Trump is specifically upset about the fact that Iran may be using snipers to kill protesters. And he's said over and over, he's not going to tolerate that.
All Iran's oil output comes from NIOC, the National Iranian Oil Corporation, state-owned entity. The workers there, they're family people. They're just Iranians like everybody else. Do you have any intel or insight that you can share on what the status of Iranian output may be right now? Because as I tweeted out over the weekend, if we see, like in 1979, the oil company can alter the outcome. If those people rise up against the regime and say, we're on strike, we're with the people, not with the regime, you could take millions of barrels a day off the market and effectively starve Tehran and the Ayatollahs of their money, which would, I hope, end this violent protest.
Well, that's absolutely true, Brian, that would make an impact, because this is a government which is run on their oil sales in the same way that Russia is. So part of President Trump, when he's talking about trying to have energy abundance, energy dominance, and lower global oil prices, part of that is he wants to take away the funding mechanism from Russia to wage war in Eastern Europe and for Iran to fund terrorism around the world. I mean, it's when you take the dollars away from Iran, then all of a sudden they can't make payroll for Hamas or Hezbollah. These are things that benefit the world and benefit peace around the world, benefit prosperity, in addition to the effects we're seeing at home. Because with these prices right now, we've got the lowest gas prices in America that we've seen in 5 years. And if you're in a red state, they're even lower. Policies drive pricing. President Trump's policies and those red states in general, the data backs that up, that if a red state that's been pro-energy has got incredibly low gas prices relative to even some of our own states, or relative to the policies that we might see in some states in the U.S. or in Europe, which continue to drive pricing up. But it's exciting to see this action. And of course, the action in Venezuela, with oil reserves in Venezuela larger than even Saudi Arabia, between the U.S., Canada, and Venezuela. I think we're seeing a historic shift where the power of OPEC is going to be diminished. And you're going to see the Western Hemisphere, led by President Trump, really exerting dominance around the pricing of oil and the production of oil and gas around the world. A year ago, under President Biden, we still had a ban on the building of LNG export facilities. And here we sit today, Brian. Yeah. The U.S. #1 LNG exporter in the world, literally saved Europe last year by all of the exports coming off the U.S. to Europe on LNG.